Hello, glad to have you with us today on this beautiful Friday afternoon. Once again, we have returned. And speaking of the word returned, there's a lot of, I don't even know what the right adjective is. There's a lot of excitement in the air. The return of the Premier League comes closer and closer. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future has never seemed more and more uncertain. And perhaps it will be cleared up over the next 6 to 9 weeks, depending on how long things take. So on today's podcast, we'll be taking a look at the developments in our acquisition for Jadon Sancho, the recent stories floating around the media of our board having a massive financial crisis, and of course, finally, the return of the Premier League. Well, primarily the return of the Premier League, I should say. So if you're up for it, and if this is a discussion you want to listen to, please do smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you are new. And without any further ado, gentlemen, the Premier League coming back on the 17th of June. Initial reactions.
Too happy. Wait, I'm too happy. I'm too happy.
That's the sound of excitement.
I wanted to cry when I seen that tweet. Initially, the way I found out the Premier League was returning, because I found it very early on, but I was just doing my thing, editing a video or whatever. And then my one uncle sent me a message, and then I seen he was like, surely must be happy on the 17th. And I was thinking, this could only mean one thing, because there's no other things to back it up. And I was just thinking, no ways, surely not. I opened Twitter, refreshed, and the first thing I see, Sky Sports Premier League returning June 17th, and I lost my mind. I was so excited. And I'm still so excited. Yep. I can't wait for it to be back.
Yeah. You could see it developing with the Bundesliga coming and announcement of La Liga, but just the announcement is brought such excitement. I didn't cry when I heard the news, but I'm pretty sure I might cry when I see the intro on the 17th.
Wow, that's a little dramatic, guys. That is a little dramatic. That's very dramatic. You know, as a sports fanatic, as an esports fanatic, and as a person who's extremely passionate about competition and competitive sport. Even I can say that is a little bit dramatic. But
this is the Premier League. It's the best league in the world, my man. Come on.
Whatever. Best league in the world. Yeah, whatever. Look, all jokes aside, Premier League returning, it's a great thing. It's a fantastic news because the financial implications of the league not resuming are way too massive for some clubs. And, it's said that some of the lower divisions won't have the same level of, the urgency, or is that the right word? They won't have the same level of effective action in terms of bringing their leagues back. That's what I'm basically trying to say. For example, I think the English League 2, I don't know what exactly is happening, but I heard a league in, which league does Celtic play in?
Scottish, I think.
Scottish,
yeah, that league got voided. Well, not voided. It got cancelled. I don't know what the right terminology is, but essentially they got gifted the title, and the league the season's over. It's not voided, because if it was voided, then they wouldn't have the title.
Did Celtic win it?
Yeah, again, and Celtic could win it for the next 5. Celtic could get gifted that league for the next 5 seasons, and it wouldn't matter. Okay, yeah. I know people make memes about PSG, but the memes are actually real with Celtic. Celtic is the last straw. At least PSG have star-studded quality, so it makes sense why they win their league. I can't even name you one Celtic player, and they're the dominant Scottish team. But anyways,
yeah.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. But anyways, I did wanted to say something with regards to the league returning back. Bundesliga. What are your reactions of what the Bundesliga has been able to do? I know everybody isn't as hyped for the Bundesliga anymore because it seems like Bayern's going to win the title. But I'm talking more from a logistical point of view. Are you happy with the way the Bundesliga is run? Do you think the Premier League could make a carbon copy of their system, I guess, and implement it successfully?
I think, yeah. If you look at how the Bundesliga carried on and launched, I think it's been quite successful so far. And I think, on the first day, at least opening day, it just showed how much we all miss football. And I think because this is the Premier League and it does have the most viewers and all of that, I think it will succeed in the way if they run it similar to the Bundesliga.
Well, if those infection rates continue to go down, yeah, that's another thing with England, because we obviously don't live in England, but I've seen in the English press that there's a lot of people who are just ignoring the lockdown rules and ignoring the social distancing rules, which is sad to see, because if football does get suspended again, it will be because of those idiots who think they don't need to obey to social distancing rules because for some reason they're immune to the virus and it will never get them, so they can hug their family members and whatever. So, but this is not a politics show. It is a football show. But, you know, I'm just saying this does affect the football directly.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I would suggest that the Premier League might not succeed, and hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. Like, we have to work together. We all have to play our part to make sure that this thing succeeds. And it seems like Germany have done that really well. Maybe I haven't been up there with news, but I haven't heard any new cases involving the football. So I think that's good. And the whole no fans thing works. Like, after a few minutes, you just forget, really. And I've been watching, and some games have been dull because the Bundesliga, but like there's been a few good games, and it's been enjoyable.
What about that, though? Is home and away advantage taken away? Because a lot of people, including myself, seem to think that a team like Schalke wouldn't have lost as badly as they did if they had a home crowd. You know, like German teams are synonymous for having hostile crowds.
Yeah, I think for the smaller clubs, it'll impact them big time. But I think for, you know, maybe cities and United's, I would say Liverpool, but I think Liverpool's fans are ridiculous. But, you know, the empty head, and the empty head is empty all the
City
time.
are used to this.
Oh my God.
City are used to it. City are used to it. You know, the empty head never has fans in it anyway. Those blue seats, you can see them all the time.
It's fine for them. But I think for the small teams, and I think the one possible big team, Liverpool, because their fans really are up for it all the time, I think those guys could be affected more. In terms of United point of view, I think it'll be a blow, but I think our players are good enough and the team is good enough to not affect them.
Plus, United don't need the pressure. You know, we're a bunch of bottlers anyways, so no crowd, it's calm head.
I think we might see Liverpool's reign of not losing at Anfield come to an end, which I don't want to happen like that because I want them to lose it legitimately. They mustn't have the excuse that, we didn't have fans and we would have won the game, so that sucks. But I think into the bigger teams, it will be an advantage because they're the better players. And without the smaller teams with not having their fans, it's a advantage for them because it doesn't hype them up like it usually would. So I think for teams like United, they will benefit from this.
True, and you know, it's an interesting time that we're in the world because obviously nobody asked for this, nobody wanted this. Everybody wishes things could go back to normal, and everybody wishes we could just cut this period out. Well, some football fans wish we could just cut this 2-month break or whatever it is and just go back to what was happening before the lockdown. Because whatever happens at the end of the season, it will never be truly reflective of what would have happened if things just carried on as normal. We don't know what would have happened if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had to keep playing with Bruno and had to wait 2 months for Pogba and Rashford to come back. We don't know how Bruno would have coped 2 months into Old Trafford when he's basically doing everything. And the last game that Bruno played in, everyone said he was flat anyway. So, you know, make up your own mind. But, you know, I personally don't believe in perfection. And I know that nobody's perfect and people have bad games. Not everybody's Messi and Ronaldo. And I know Bruno hasn't been here long enough. And I'm not saying Bruno would have had a bad game. I'm just saying, you know, it's easy to make an argument against United doing well if things had gone at normal. And that goes for all clubs. So
yeah, and like, it's not necessarily a positive because like Pogba could come back and then now we're trying a new shape that doesn't work as well, or they haven't played together in a while, and fitness. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen. This doesn't necessarily mean that because Pogba is back that it's all going to click and it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, look, I think people get the match fitness thing mixed up. You know, there's match fitness and then there's match sharpness and readiness. Fitness-wise, for me, there's not really much of an excuse. I'm obviously not a sports scientist, so I'm not going to sit here and say elite-level athletes should be ready for a football match just because they ran on the treadmill at home for half an hour or whatever it is and did a couple of weights and were playing golf in the backyard. You know, I know it's not that simple, and I know these guys ask a lot of their bodies, especially in a league that's as competitive of the Premier League. So we will see injuries, and I'm okay with that. But I think people conflate that with match sharpness. You can be as fit as you want. You can have all the muscles, you can have the endurance, you can run for 90 minutes. But match sharpness is something you only get by momentum, consistent amount of games. Being in that atmosphere, getting into the habit of making the right decisions, just getting into a natural rhythm and a flow state of sorts. And we'll have to see how that is affected because, I mean, the Bundesliga, watching players like Sancho, yeah, with Sancho, it's a fitness problem. But also, I think, when I looked at Dortmund play against Bayern, I was just like, guys, come on. Some of the passes that they could have made was so simple. Like the Dortmund that's in the Champions League and fighting for a title and doesn't take a break because of the pandemic would have made so many more chances in that game versus the Dortmund that's been away for 2 months. So
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. But we'll just have to see. What are your top 4 predictions? Having said all that,
I think it's gonna backfire. It's gonna backfire in my face. But I'm gonna say it now. United will finish 3rd.
Oh no!
why not though? Why not?
I guess, but I feel like it's a bit of a tall order. I think Chelsea and Leicester are gonna give it their all, and yeah, as I said, I think big teams have an advantage without fans, so I think they'll also be doing pretty well. So I think it's going to be hard for us to get 4th. I think we can get it, but it won't be easy. So I'm going to say 4th.
No. I respect your opinion a lot, but no. For me, no. You 1 point outside the top 4. Bruno Fernandes came here. You haven't lost 9 games. You haven't lost 9 games because the missing piece in your puzzle is in there now. You've shown us what you can do. Now show us what you can do when you've got Bruno and Paul Pogba. I'm not saying that I'll be against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if he doesn't make top 4 because Chelsea and Leicester genuinely played well and we're still 1 point off in the last game of the season. If that happens, GG, good, well played Leicester, well played Chelsea, fair play. But if we come back and I see some horrible football and we don't make top 4 because of just poor tactics and poor performances on the pitch, that's not acceptable. Yeah. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer making top 4 under the circumstances he was in before lockdown would have been more impressive than it is now. I genuinely believe that. Without Pogba, without Rashford, there's no Europa League, there's no FA Cup. The FA Cup's done anyways, so
FA Cup is also they saying
it could come back, but based solely on what we know now and what's been confirmed, at least for the first few weeks, there's no FA Cup. Yeah. And I think it's a safe prediction to say that the FA Cup won't come back till at least the end because there's only 3 games left to play in the FA Cup. It's the quarterfinal, semi-final, then final. So there's no reason for them to rush the return of the FA Cup and try to squeeze it in with the already tense schedule. So for me, there really is no excuses. Yes, there's some things that are beyond your control, like injuries. That are going to happen, but everyone's going to have to deal with that. There's no excuses, man.
How far behind are we from Leicester, points-wise? If you guys know.
I can't remember.
I can't
4.
remember.
4. Okay, 4 is doable. But I think we'll have a good showing. We'll have a good showing, and I think we will topple Chelsea. But I feel like Leicester also have a really good team. Vardy, a really good midfield. So I just think they'll get 3rd, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not saying we'll finish 3rd. I think we'll get 4th.
Yeah.
And who will drop out of the top 4 between Chelsea and Leicester? I can't decide. I think
big. Points gap.
What is it?
8 points.
You see, so I don't think 3rd is up for grabs at the moment. Yeah. But Leicester are not going to win every game on the next 9 games. Chelsea are not going to win every game in the next 9 games.
We still have to play Leicester.
We haven't lost the game in the last 9 games because of one man. Good defense as well, but mainly because of one man. If that one man wasn't there, we probably would have drawn the last 9 games instead of winning some of them. So, look, I'm not saying that we should make 3rd because I think that's ridiculous, but I think we can at least make 4th.
I'm just looking at the next.
They're not going to win every game. So
they got Chelsea, they got Arsenal, they got Tottenham. So
Pogba, Bruno, Martial, and Rashford. I expect more from Oli. And
I think
we'll just have to see if he delivers.
It's possible. And with the squad we have, I can see us going and winning every game left, honestly. But you just never know with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. So we'll just have to wait and see, as you say.
Yeah, look, again, just to reiterate, if it's because of things he can't control and players are getting injured left, right, and center, that's different. But if we're sat here 9 weeks from now, 8 points behind Chelsea, because this man played Pogba in the 6 and Bruno in the 6 and panicked against whoever, come on. Come on. You see, it's like the things that are in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's control and in the players' control, I expect them to take care of. I don't want to watch fossil football, fam. I want to see us create chances, and I want to see us play with heart and passion and be driven and actually have a tactical system, a clear tactical system for the next 9 games. That's what I want to see. And if I see that and we still lose, fair play. Fair play. But I can't be seeing 5 at the back football here in a 9-game season. Come on. Come on. You have no excuses. Nobody's suspended. Nobody's injured. There's no other competitions so far.
Can I ask a question? How would you guys feel if in the game against Tottenham, we lose because he decided to play a 4-3-3 with one holding midfielder?
If you played Pogba and Bruno in the 2 advanced positions, and I don't know who is CDM, but if he did do that and we did lose, I think it depends how we lost. Because like I would be a fan of it. Like if that's what he wants to do, a change of, I would stick with it, obviously, personally.
Really? I mean, I know that we all want that formation, but then like if he's breaking away from something that's been working, we might not be a fan of it, but it's been working, and then he goes to this thing and doesn't work. Will you really approve of that, especially in a game against Spurs?
My opinion hasn't changed from when we spoke about this last year and at the beginning of this year. My opinion hasn't changed. I'm not a fan of counter-attacking football. I'm not a fan of 5 at the back football, but I'm also not a fan of experimenting in important games. This is important. We need to make the Champions League. We need to make the Champions League because we need to attract players like Jadon Sancho, which we'll get to in a moment. We need to make top 4 because we need to get back into the Champions League. If we are sitting in the Europa League next season because everybody's happy with the football, I will actually pull my hair out. I can't do it. I can't do it. If we are sitting, and it's not because I'm not a fan of the football, it's because why now? Why now? Why would you try out this new, fluid attacking football that everybody's been asking for the last, I don't know, what has it been, like 12 months? Why now? Why against Spurs when they have everyone back? So no, no, it's a no for me. I don't want to see a change of system. I don't want to see some new diamond formation. I want to see us stick to what we're good at and close it out and then focus on implementing new things next season.
Marcus, would you start Pogba in that game?
I think he's going to. We'll speak about it, I think, on the match when we have a match preview. But
we will speak about it in depth. But I think, I don't know. It depends. It depends because, like, obviously you want to check if players are fit and fully recovered. But if Pogba's fit and fully recovered, yeah, I would start Pogba next to Bruno. The biggest dilemma is if you put Pogba in the team, who do you drop? That becomes the question mark. I think if you start Pogba and you start Bruno, then you have to play Matic because you can't play Fred and expect to not lose to Tottenham, and you can't rely solely on McTominay's abilities, especially because the quality of training that we've had in the last few weeks is not conducive enough or not convincing for me enough to say, oh, McTominay's learned how to be a CDM in the last week in social distancing training. No, I don't think there's enough right now to convince me of player development, basically. I don't think anyone's grown as a player in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to be a tough one because he might be reluctant to drop Fred because he's been playing so well. But I think because Pogba is world class, in my opinion, I think he should start him, but play him in the 2. It's 4-2-3-1 and play him next to McTominay or Matic.
In my mind, I think Oli. If I have to think in Oli's mind, I don't think Oli would actually start Paul Pogba on that first game. I think he'll stick with what we've been doing, and then he'll bring on Pogba.
Know.
I think he'll bring on Pogba.
I think maybe
for the first game.
I don't know if this is a popular opinion or an unpopular opinion, but I cringe every time people call Pogba world class. I really do, because
I can understand.
I cringe whenever people say, on his day, Paul Pogba's world class. On his day, Paul Pogba's world class. How many on his days does he actually have? I'll tell you, not many, because he's been in the recovery room. So I couldn't give a shite about your world class status. Right now, based on what's happening right now, and based on what the team needs right now, there is no proven track record of world-class ability, not because Paul Pogba isn't world-class, but because he's been in the recovery room and he hasn't played. Nobody's played in the last 2 months because of the pandemic. So that goes out the window for me. And if you want proof, look at Jadon Sancho. He was world class before the season came to a halt. He's playing like shit now, and that's not his fault. But that's the risk element. So I don't care about player status right now.
True.
It's about who is in the best shape and
that's
who's
very true.
got the best
But
match readiness to play.
If I have to try to defend Pogba on this one, I think we've seen time and time again because he's been injured. When he
I didn't hear what you said there. You were cutting out, man.
Yeah, I think he's breaking up.
happened countless of times. I remember he got a red card, not a red card, man. He got injured once and he came back against Arsenal and he played great. So in terms of his track record, he's always been very good when it comes to that.
Yeah, but not in the last 6 months. I'm not talking. Like I said, I don't care about your status in your career. Your career goes out the window. I don't care what Sancho's done in the last year. What has he done in the last 2 months? Nothing, because we've all been in lockdown. What has he done in the last week? He's played crap. Why? Because of lockdown. Pogba's not immune to that. Whether you think he's this world-class legend who just goes into God mode when his team's in the final of a World Cup, cool, that's your opinion, and I'm not going to argue about that. But this is very special circumstances, and I really, really cringe whenever I hear the world-class debate coming in, because the matter of the fact is, whether or not Paul Pogba was world-class or not, he was starting before he got injured. That's the only reason I would personally put him in the team. Like it's no secret that his role in the team was to start.
Yeah.
Then wait there. In FIFA, he'd be a crucial player. That's what would be on his contract. So that's why I would start Paul Pogba. And also because I think him and Bruno next to each other could provide so much more creativity than him and Fred, or him and McTominay, or him and Matic. That's why I would start Pogba. Not because of world-class.
We will see him in a deeper position. I think so. I don't see us playing the 4-3-3. I just don't see it happening. And I think he'll start because Ole loves Pogba, and Ole thinks Pogba's a game changer. So I think it will happen in the first game.
I don't mind that. I think Pogba in a deep position is so much better than Fred in a deep position, and here's why. If you look at Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, right on the surface, you can make a very shallow argument that they're very similar players. But there's a few things that Pogba has that Bruno doesn't, and that Bruno has that Pogba doesn't. Mainly that if you had to put Bruno Fernandes in the DM, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like
Pogba. The first game when he had to play.
A lot of people don't like Pogba in the DM, but he can do a DM role if there's someone next to him like Matic. That's why the Matic part is key. If you put Pogba next to Fred, then we're in trouble in the DM position. I think Pogba can play the DM role, but he needs the support. And the reason why I think Pogba can work in the DM role going forward is because Pogba has the vision and the ability to make the long passes that Bruno can't. Bruno is a very good attacking midfielder, but he's good at the quick 1-2 passes and intricate plays. But I've never seen Bruno consistently whip balls across the field, because that's not the kind of player Bruno is. Bruno's the kind of player who's getting on the end of that ball, then either assisting someone or scoring. So imagine if we have Pogba. Imagine this transition, right? Let me just paint a scenario in your head. Tottenham take a shot. De Gea saves it. De Gea throws it out to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka gives it to Pogba. Pogba whips it to Dan James out on the wing. And instead of having to wait for Pogba to run to the box, Bruno's already there because Pogba's whipped it across. And now you've got Bruno, Martial, and Rashford with James on the ball. Those are his options to pass to. That's amazing. Those are his options to pass to. Those are his 3 options to pass to. So that's what having Pogba does. Whereas if it's Fred, no disrespect, but that ball might end up in the 16th row of an empty stadium.
Yeah, it's the France formation. Pogba in quarterback and Griezmann
he did it at France. He did it at France, so it could work. But what I would say is that it's key that Matic plays there. And if we use Paul Pogba like that next to Bruno, I won't be anti against it. I obviously prefer the attacking formation, but if it gets the results, so what? As long as it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were going to say?
No, I said it'll definitely be entertaining. First game, Tottenham versus United. Jeez, my life.
Can't wait for the
It has to be. It has to be, bro. Like, you can't have Pogba, Martial, Bruno, Rashford all on the pitch with the explosive pace of Dan James as an option. And now I'm just thinking about Sancho in that equation, but I don't want to jump the gun. But yeah, you can't have those 4 on the field and not have an entertaining game. But yeah, moving on to the next topic. That is this obviously involves the acquisition of Jadon Sancho, but Manchester United's recent financial news has come out, and if you're unaware, Manchester United's debt is just under 43% at the moment. I don't know if it's grown by 43% or if it's at 43% from where it was. I'm not really sure how to interpret those numbers because I saw a Twitter screenshot, obviously. But our debt is currently sitting at $429 million or euros, whatever the currency is. And that's a lot. And Manchester United have also recently just taken out a loan of 150 million. And I don't really know what that's for and what that entails. Because if that is just for transfers, if that money is seriously just for transfers, why did they take it out now in May and not when the transfer window opened, when they had a clear idea of who they were signing, So I don't know. With the amount of losses that we had, and with the fact that over the last 7 years, the Glazers have a proven track record of favouring the net spend over what's best for the team, I don't know if that 150 million is all going to get used on transfers. Yeah. I don't know, bro. I don't know. What with that information in mind and those circumstances, what is the perfect transfer window for you in the summer?
Perfect transfer window for me is a right winger and another midfielder, and I'd be happy with that. Just 2 signings, I'd be happy with. I'd be happy with the Grealish, and even if we don't get a Sancho, if we have to get like another quality right wing, who's even who's a low key right wing, but has some potential, I would take it.
Yeah.
But my priority, like if I could get one player, I would still get Jack Grealish. Because I think Jack Grealish is so versatile. I've seen Jack Grealish play right wing, I've seen Jack Grealish play left wing, I've seen Jack Grealish play everywhere in the midfield, and as a lead, I think Jack Grealish would do us wonders.
Yeah. I have to completely agree with Shane. I think a midfielder and a right wing, and I agree with Jack Grealish because he probably won't be that expensive, and he's done it in the Premier League. Just a right wing, I was thinking the other day, like if finances are an issue, do we really need to obsess over Jadon Sancho? And we've seen United do this before. They want a player and they rather not get anything until they get that player. We saw that Maguire under Mourinho's season. So I wouldn't mind a quality right wing who's young and is not expensive as Jadon Sancho. So a right wing and a midfielder, attacking midfielder to be specific.
Who would that right winger be though? Do you have anyone in mind?
No.
And as a Barca fan, how do you feel about the links to Dembele from Barcelona?
Bad idea. Horrible idea.
Is it because of his injury record, or do you have some other light?
No, it's because of the injury record. He's a brilliant player, can be one of the best wingers in the world, but the man is always injured, so it's not worth it.
Yeah. Look, I understand the point of Jack Grealish and his versatility, right? I understand that, right? But my only rebuttal to that is that the Jadon Sancho acquisition it's not the same as other acquisitions that Manchester United have had in the past, and I'll explain why. Manchester United in the last 7 years have made some bad decisions based on short-term circumstances and never really properly thought things through. We've bought players who either have a terrible injury record and have no proven track record within the immediate past of excellence, or converse to that, we've bought players based on their short-term past and not their long-term future, and we spent ridiculous amounts of money on them, and then they've come here and they've flopped, either because they're old or they get injured or it just didn't work out. In some circumstances, it just didn't work out. It's whatever, right? Like Di Maria wasn't old. Di Maria wasn't injury prone. It just didn't work out. He just came to Old Trafford and flopped, right? And so with Jadon Sancho, I genuinely think that Jadon Sancho is a player who has a proven track record of excellence that we can rely on. And the reason why we should get Jadon Sancho, and I believe we should get Jadon Sancho, is because in the right wing position, Manchester United need a player who will come in and command that right wing, but also do it at a level of excellence that we hadn't had in a long time. And whilst I think Jack Grealish would be good at that role, I'm not looking for good. I think we need someone who's excellent. If there's ever a world-class player we need in Manchester United and a position we need them in, it is that right wing position. Because if we just go out and get any old right winger, I don't know. Mm. And, obviously, if we got Jack Grealish and he played in the right wing, I would back him. I wouldn't be mad at that. I'd be like, okay, fair play. But that's why we need Sancho. That's why Sancho's so important. I don't think if we spent 100 million on Sancho, I wouldn't be upset. As opposed to if we spent 100 million on Harry Kane, for example.
Yeah.
You see, like the difference between those two signings. One is we don't really need. The other one we do, because we can't be relying on Dan James and a player who's quote unquote versatile and can play there from time to time, but has never actually established a career in that position.
Yeah.
Like
No,
I don't.
I agree with you 100%. I would never play Jack Grealish in the wing. I think that's a bad idea. I think with Sancho, if we have the money, definitely it has to be him. I just feel like if we don't have the money right now, I mean, because of the financial crisis, I don't have a list on me right now, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of good young right wings we can buy, and maybe buy Sancho the next season. I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think we should force it if we can't afford it.
There are. The problem is, right, there are a lot of young right wingers, but the problem is, right, I think all the other right wingers in the world at the moment, and you can correct me in the comments down below if you have any other suggestions, but who are like a contradiction to what I'm saying. I think the problem with all the young right wingers in the world at the moment is it's all potential. With Jadon Sancho, yes, he has potential, but that's not why we're buying him. We're buying him because of what he's done at Dortmund, not because of what he potentially could do at Dortmund. We're buying him because of what he's actually done at Dortmund. That's where the proven track record comes in. When I look at all the other young right wingers in the world, it's all moments of individual brilliance. It's never consistently game in, game out. And so it's a gamble when you buy them. Whereas with Sancho, it's almost guaranteed. Yes, Sancho could come here and flop. And yes, I could be sitting here with egg on my face a year from now and Sancho could not be playing well. But that's a gamble you have to take as opposed to buying someone based on 3 good games in the Champions League. But then the rest of the games in their home league or whatever is not good. And that's not the case with Sancho. He's so good. And I can't think of anyone else in the world who is that consistent. They maybe not as good as Jadon Sancho, but they're consistent at whatever level you reckon good enough for Manchester United. I can't think of anyone. Because I've thought of people like Traore, but I haven't seen enough.
Yeah,
But
no, definitely not. Can I ask a question? Let's say you have 100 million, just 100 million. Do you buy Jadon Sancho, or do you keep Greenwood and James to play in that position and buy a Partey and a Jack Grealish? Both 50 million.
Those are my only 2 options.
Okay, I think those are the 2 best options. But then buy 2 players who are worth 50 million in the midfield for an attacking midfielder and a centre defensive midfielder. Would you rather not do that?
No, I'd rather buy Sancho, and here's why. If we buy Partey and we buy Grealish, and then Rashford does his back in again, and Dan James get a red card, what are you going to do? Are you telling me you're going to play Grealish in the right wing now against Manchester City in an important game, and then you're going to move Partey up or do whatever Partey can do?
I might play Grealish up. Look, I feel like there will always be injuries. There'll be injuries in attack. There'll be injuries in midfield. I just think getting 2 midfielders in those positions is more beneficial for us, in my opinion, because you get injuries everywhere.
Yeah, you will get injuries everywhere, and I'm not denying that, right? Like, Sancho's not going to solve all our problems, but we don't have a right wing. That's the problem. So if you buy Grealish, you're not buying a midfielder. You're buying a midfielder who's going to be forced to play out of position for the rest of his career at Manchester United until a right winger comes. Do you really want that? Why not just buy a right winger? Because I can guarantee you, if we buy Grealish and Partey, Martial's going to get injured, and then Greenwood's not going to be able to play every game because he's young, he's inconsistent, and he hasn't played enough to be the main striker at Manchester United. So you're left with Rashford down the middle. Do you want to play Rashford down the middle with James next to him and Grealish next to him? Is that what you want for like 2 months at United? And if that's what you want, cool. But I don't get it because
we're not buying a striker anyway. So if Martial gets injured anyway, we're gonna have to play Greenwood there or Rashford. God forbid.
Yes, if we don't buy a striker and we buy Sancho, we'll have Sancho and Rashford in the middle and James on the side. If we don't buy Sancho, Martial could get injured, Rashford could get injured, and something could happen to James. Then what are you going to do? That's the point I'm trying to make.
I get what you're saying.
We don't actually have a right winger.
Basically, what you're saying is that we have more problems in attack than in midfield. But I'm not completely sure about that.
This is what I'm saying. Buying 2 midfielders does not solve our right wing problem. If
I get you, yeah.
You're working in a company and you are a CEO and you're looking for a director, a managing director, hiring 2 entry-level employees doesn't solve the position of director. It's the same with this. Buying 2 midfielders does not solve your right wing problems. And we don't have a right winger at the moment. Because if you honestly think Dan James is the key, mate, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Honestly, I think he can do a job, but I hear your point completely. I just think we still have serious holes in the midfield in terms of depth. Honestly,
we do. We have holes everywhere. We have holes everywhere in terms of depth. We have. Some people would argue that we have holes in defense because some people aren't sure of Luke Shaw, and some people aren't sure. Like if something happens to Brandon Williams, some people still aren't sure of Luke Shaw. That's an opinion people actually have. Some people aren't sure of Delo. So what if Wan-Bissaka gets injured? Are we going to play Delo against City and back him against Sterling? Yeah. So some people, we have holes everywhere in the team, but we have 5 midfielders and only 4 attackers. Greenwood is versatile. I understand that. Martial is versatile. I understand that. Rashford is versatile. I understand that. So is Sancho, by the way. But I really don't want to be sat here another season watching players play out of position. Like, I would love for United to have another David Beckham or another person who just commands the right wing position. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Jadon Sancho, but who else? That's all I want to know. If you think Sancho's not the key, who else? And I know you guys think Grealish could do it, but I'm not convinced. Because the Grealish thing sounds like the Martial argument again. Oh, he's here to play as a striker, but let's just play him on the wing because he's good. No, but he wants to play as a striker. Why are you ruining the guy's career?
Yeah.
I hear you.
And you're right. I just think, personally, if we have like funds like 100 million and we can spread them more and get more players and fix some of our issues, I'd rather do that. If we can afford to get a Traore and those 2 midfielders, I would do that rather than just get a Jadon Sancho.
I would get a Traore and agree.
Yeah, no. Now you're talking my language. If we could get Partey and another right winger, a specialist right winger, not a versatile striker, not a versatile midfielder who occasionally plays on the right wing for a team that's going to be relegated, a proven right wing player who can do a job for Manchester United for the next 3 or 4 seasons, then you're talking. I don't know who that is though, because if it's Traore, I haven't seen enough of Traore to back him at Manchester United. I think Traore is Dan James on steroids with a bit of skill. That's all, and that might be an ignorant opinion, but I already said I haven't seen enough of him. Like I'm admitting that I have not watched Adama Traore enough to say, hey, I want that guy at Manchester United. So if there is a right winger out there who's consistent, and maybe not on the level of a Jadon Sancho, but not as bad as Traore, somewhere in the middle, and they can do a job, and they cost 30 to 40 million quid, and then we can get a Partey on top of that. Cool beans. Happy days. I'll take that deal any day over one Sancho. I understand that, but who is this right winger?
I hear you. Personally, I would take Traore. If it's coming with another midfielder, I would take Traore.
I don't know.
Like if someone told me you could have Sancho or Grealish and Traore, I'll take Grealish and Traore.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I don't think he's proven it that much. And I think at the start of the season, he was a bit off, to be honest. But I feel like he can do the job for a season. And I think we can still get Jadon Sancho going forward. And we get another midfielder. Personally, I prefer a CDM, but I know an attacking midfielder is also important.
Yeah, well, with United's track record, right? And that's a good plan. That's a good plan. But with our board and our management, Traore ain't coming for a season and leaving. That's the thing. So
not leave.
We could get Sancho further down the line. Okay, not leave, obviously, but
I don't think he's that old. I think he can be. We need depth in attack, and he can stay.
Worst case scenario, your boy Sanchez comes back, then he's our winner.
Oh my gosh.
No, but that's the problem with United. That's the problem with United, and that's what I was getting at. We sign Partey or Grealish or whoever else you think we're going to sign. Then we get Traore. United have a net spend that they need to meet, by the way. And I'm not talking out of my arse. Go look at our transfer record for the last 7 years, if you want proof of this. United care about their net spend. And United, even during the Fergie era, made it very clear that you have to sell in order to buy. That was United's philosophy, really, since the beginning of dominance. Sell to buy. United's never been a team that keeps a plethora of good players and just keeps them in rotation. So I don't think Adama Traore wants to come to Old Trafford and sit on the bench. And on top of that, I don't think Ed Woodward fancy paying Adama Traore's wages, Sanchez's wages, Dan James's wages, Rashford's wages, Martial's wages, Lingard's wages, Pereira's wages, and then Sancho's wages in the summer, next summer, on top of Partey and Grealish. I don't see that happening.
I agree. Pereira and a Lingard and maybe a few people need to leave. But I feel if we're going to be a big team, we're going to have to start improving our depth and signing a lot of players. That's what Man City does. So Liverpool does.
We do.
So that's the step we need to take.
We do. I understand that. But I'm looking at our board. We do. You're 100% right. And I agree with you 100%. But this board has burned me for a long time now. Since 2013, you understand? I've been burned by this board. So, you know, I can't be optimistic about this board doing that. I really don't see this board making 3 signings of that magnitude, or 4 signings actually, since you said Partey, Grealish, and Traore, and then Sancho in the next summer. I just don't see it. And who's buying Lingard in this market? Like, you have to remember that as well. Who's buying Lingard in this market? Who's buying Sanchez in this market? Who's buying? Okay, well, Pereira is pretty cheap, so never mind him. You know, who's buying all these players that we need to get rid of? Probably no one, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I don't see Manchester United realistically signing 3 players this window and then still making the move for Sancho next. I think it's now or never with Jadon Sancho. And also what people forget is other clubs aren't just going to watch us sign Sancho. So the reason why now is the best time for Manchester United to get Sancho is because we have the best financial leverage at the moment. If we let this opportunity slip, we could be sat here a year from now in a bid war with Madrid and Barcelona. And we all know how that goes with Ed Woodward in charge. He's got to save a couple of bucks for himself. So I don't know. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope the board have turned the corner and they realize the need for death.
I just feel personally iffy about Jadon Sancho. There's something like in my gut there's something about that signing that I don't like.
You've been burned. It's a big signing. It's a classic Ed Woodward signing. It's 100 million quid in the summer. Jadon Sancho, number 7.
When it comes to Jadon
300K
Sancho,
per week.
When it comes to Jadon Sancho, his numbers are great. Like, I can't deny that. He's been consistent. But to be honest, when I've watched him play, I have gotten that little thing that he might be a tad bit overrated because I just haven't seen what the numbers say. That's just from my personal experience.
Yeah,
his stats are insane. His stats are actually insane in the Bundesliga.
I think this season
season
specifically, he's gone mad. But like there was one game I watched him, I was blown out of this world. I remember it was against Barcelona. But besides that, when I've seen him play, I haven't been extremely impressed.
Yeah, and look, again, with regards to Jadon Sancho, if you're not impressed by Jadon Sancho, then you're probably not going to be impressed by 99% of the young right wingers in the world. That's just fact. Because Jadon Sancho is better than what we've got. Maybe you could make an argument for Marcus Rashford. Maybe. If you wanna get burned in the comment section, maybe you can make an argument that Rashford could be better. But with regards to Sancho and everyone who's scared, you have every right to be scared as a United fan because this signing has Ed Woodward, classic Ed Woodward, written all over it. It's a big money signing in the summer that could go wrong. But that's just the risk. We have to accept it. Like if Jadon Sancho comes here and flops, we can't turn.
Every signing so far has been amazing, brilliant. Not one has flopped yet.
That's true. But that's more. I think that's more to do with I think that has less to do with luck and more to do with the fact that these are actually the right signings, and I'll explain why in a bit. But if Jadon Sancho could come to United and flop, Harry Maguire could still flop. He could dip in form over the next few weeks. These guys are not immune to it. We haven't seen enough of Bruno Fernandes to say he's a successful Manchester United signing. That might be your opinion based on the last month. But if your opinion is based on 1 month and not the span of an entire player's career at Manchester United, then I don't know what to tell you, honestly.
And I get that. I was just making an argument for the risk because the numbers don't.
Definitely. But to anyone who makes an argument about the risk, to those people specifically, I would say, no, you're right. There is risk, but good luck signing anyone who's world class without risk. Good luck, because every player that you bring into a club that costs 80 to 100 million is a risk. Look at Griezmann, look at Coutinho, look at Dembele, look at trying to think of more examples. Look at Hazard. Look at although Felix is a young player, so that's different. Atletico Madrid weren't buying a star in Felix. They were buying a player and a prodigy for the future. So Felix isn't really a flop in my opinion. Like they weren't buying the next Messi to play like in that season. But anyways, look at Bale. There's so many examples in world football. I could go on. There's so many examples in world football, right? So good luck signing anyone without risk. And I think with the Sancho signing, if Sancho did come to Manchester United and flop, you 100% have people saying we should have never signed Sancho. But it's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Because we needed a right winger. And who was better at that time than Jadon Sancho? No one is better or makes more sense. And the reason why Bruno Fernandes, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, and who else have we signed? Oh, we signed Dan James. That's iffy. But the reason why those players have been good signings is because, unlike our last signings, these players, A, have a good injury record, B, were consistent at their previous clubs, C, they were playing at small clubs, which means they were ambitious and hungry and wanted to come to Old Trafford to take the next step. Unlike the likes of Di Maria, Schweinsteiger, maybe not Falcao, but Zlatan, all those guys, they came to Old Trafford and they'd already done it all. They were just coming to add to their resume. We shouldn't be signing players who are coming to add to their resume. You're either in or you're out. Are you in with the project or you're out? And yes, every player comes to Old Trafford to improve their career, obviously. But we should be signing players who are young, hungry, and willing to make the step up, who are coming from, and that's the profile of the signings we've made. Even Dan James, he was an established player at Swansea City, and he made the step up, the upgrade. Some people think it's too big of an upgrade, but nevertheless, that's the kind of signing we made. And I think with Jadon Sancho, he's looking for an entry into the Premier League. He's looking for that next step, quotation marks. So it makes sense to me, as opposed to all the signings we've made in the past. So even if he does come to Old Trafford and flop, like you're not a genius if you sit here 12 months from now saying, I told you Jadon Sancho wasn't going to be anything. I told you, because that happens sometimes. You know, it's like a Barca fan saying, I told you Griezmann was a bad signing. Nobody thought Griezmann was a bad signing at the time, unless you made the argument that where is he going to fit. But like most people weren't even looking at that. Most people were like, oh shit, they signed Griezmann, oh shit. And then he went bad and everyone was like, he's a flop. And it's like, wait, what? So that's just how football fans are, and I get that. But like, it's just
one of the everything.
Things. There's a risk in everything, bro. So, and with United fans, I think you have every right to think Jadon Sancho's a risk because of our board and the people who run us, and that's okay. And I don't blame you for that, because I'm also iffy about the Sancho signing deep down inside. But we have to do it because we don't have a right winger. And if you really think Sancho isn't the right move, who is this right winger that is better? I just want to know. I'm not even fighting. I just want to know. Who is?
No, according to numbers, he's the best. He's the best. I was just making an argument for that perspective, but I wasn't saying you shouldn't sign him.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that. I'm not fighting. I just want to know. I just want to know who this other right winger is, because if it's someone like Mbappe, look, we ain't signing Mbappe. I don't know what to tell you, but we ain't signing Mbappe anytime soon. So, like, I really can't think.
Yeah. But personally, all I'm saying, if we only have 100 million, I'm going for Traore and a midfielder. That's just my stance.
I respect that.
Same. I'm in the same boat. If we had that budget, I'm going for Grealish and someone like a Traore.
I respect that. The only other person who I can see making an argument for, who's a forward player who's really versatile, and I personally haven't watched this player a lot myself, but I've heard only good things about him, is Timo Werner.
Yeah,
that's the only other player.
Makes a lot of sense, actually. He's cheaper.
And he's playing at RB Leipzig.
Cheaper, he's a good standard, and he can play on the wing and striker.
Yeah, so he can solve our problems easily.
Yeah.
Martial gets injured, no problem. Werner's there.
Yeah.
James is off,
makes a lot of
no
sense.
problem. Werner's there.
Yeah.
Rashford's off, no problem.
I feel like if we don't get Sancho, or if there's problems with us getting Sancho, that should be the alternative.
Yeah, it should be, but with regards to signings like Sancho and Werner, I'll go back to what I said earlier in the podcast. Like, it's about whether or not we can close out that deal now. Because, especially with Werner, because with Werner, we know Liverpool are in for him. Like, it's not a secret. So, like, we don't have time to sit and lollygag and say, oh, we're going to save money this transfer window and wait. So with Werner, I just think it's with players like Werner, Rob, I should say. I'm generalizing. It's now or never. But, hopefully things work out, obviously. I want things to work out.
I think the dream scenario for all United fans that we splash all the money and just take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, of course. We get Sancho and a Grealish. Done. That's my word.
My
I'll
dream,
be
my
over
dream
the
transfer
moon.
window, personally, is if we got Sancho, and this is going to sound like I'm quoting Mark Goldbridge. I am, but it's because I agree with him. Is if we get Sancho, Bellingham, and another midfielder. And if that is Grealish, great, happy days. But I don't see how Grealish fits in if Pogba stays long term, personally. And I don't know if Grealish wants to come and sit on the bench at Old Trafford. And if he does, happy days, Coolios. If we got Sancho, Bellingham, who's a star for the future, somehow managed to keep Gomez, get him to extend his contract and then loan him out, and got another midfielder, oh my God, I would be so happy. Based on these circumstances. In any other transfer window, that would be standard, obviously.
The thing about that, I just want players who can help us now, but are not too old. So I'd rather have a young defensive mid like a Partey and have a Grealish, who maybe might not want to play, sit on the bench, but I think there's other alternatives, really, who are attacking midfielders. So we can solve our depth issue.
That makes sense, but I was about to say something stupid, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. It was with regards to Edward.
That would be my perfect window this season. Sancho and a Grealish. I'll be over the moon with that.
That makes sense, man. If you stuck around this long enough, make sure to leave a like on the video if you haven't already. And let us know if you enjoy this kind of content. If you do, and you happen to be new, we make these kind of videos once a week. And when the football comes back, we'll be doing a lot more content. So do stick around and consider clicking that subscribe button. But I think, gentlemen, that about wraps up today's show.
Yeah,
it's been a good show, good talking points, and I hope that you've enjoyed this one. Peace out.